First of all, what do you make of the government's response to the appalling tragedy that we've seen at Grenfell Tower?
It is an appalling tragedy. As a London MP, my heart goes out to all those people. I wrote a piece today about the tragedy and about what we should be doing now. My sense is the government's right to have ordered a full public inquiry straight away. It's also right to put immediately £5 million up. I'm sure there'll be more money following that straight away. So guarantees about that, guarantees about localised movements, so in other words, nobody moving beyond the local area. The key question is organising this initial response. And today it became clear that the local authority there had really not been able to get this organisation properly done. It's right, therefore, to move civil servants in. Other councils around London that have a greater experience of this, they should have accepted their help earlier, but it's right to therefore make that change now. So it's a very, very difficult circumstance. You know, this is a tragedy, bar none, possibly the worst that we've seen in non-terrorist activity in the UK. So it's the right thing to make those decisions that we've made already, but obviously our heart and all the help goes out to them as much as we possibly can.
Of course. Now, in the Sunday Times today, Conservative sources are quoted saying that they want to do an IDS on the Prime Minister. In other words, forcing a vote of no confidence to try and oust her. Now, it happened to you. Can you see it happening to Theresa May?
No, not at all. I don't know who these people are, by the way. You know, these things happen in general terms. But of course, I was leader of the opposition, wasn't leader of the government. Theresa May has come out of an election. We didn't do as well as we had obviously hoped for, which is probably a bit of an understatement. But the reality is that we need stability now, and we don't need silly people in the Conservative Party with big mouths and small brains running around the place trying to tell everybody what they're going to do. I think what they should do now is do what the rest of us want to do, which is try and support the government. Because the big threat, you know, you look into the abyss and it grins back at you with a short-cropped grey beard and a very Marxist ideology. So we don't want to see that govern Britain, and therefore we have to get stable, get behind the Prime Minister and make sure that at the end of it all, that she has the strength and the potency to be able to go on and govern as her government does.
Now, do you think that is partly why people are backing Theresa May at the moment after that pretty disastrous electoral results, because they're so worried about another election and Jeremy Corbyn getting into power?
Well, first of all, we won the election. I mean, whichever way you cut it, we are the largest party. I know it's difficult.
Well, you could argue that you didn't actually win the election, although you just emerged as the largest party.
Hang on a second. Just imagine if we'd come from opposition to this position, you'd say, oh, you won the election. My point is we did not do as well as we'd hoped. We wanted a full working majority. We didn't get that. But what we did get was the largest vote ever, and also we are the largest party. So the maths are that we should be forming the government, and that's what she's doing. I know it's difficult for Jeremy Corbyn to add this all up, but the reality is we are the ones that are in government, and we should stay in government, and we should govern carefully for the whole nation. And that we have now pressing on us is 2 years of negotiation on the European Union to leave. And we need to start that as soon as possible, Monday, and we need to get behind the government while we do that and stop messing around.
Let's talk about those Brexit talks, of course, as you say, due to kick off tomorrow. Now, Theresa May called the election to try and increase her mandate for her position on Brexit. She ended up losing seats. Does that mean that the government needs to soften or change its approach to leaving the EU?
No, we've got to be very clear. Can I just first of all say hard and soft are ridiculous terms, because if you ask anybody, do you want something that's really hard, they'll go no. If you want something that's really soft, they say yes, but what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything at all. We stood on a manifesto. By the way, the Labour Party stood on almost exactly the same manifesto, which is take back control of our borders, our laws, our money, leaving the single market, leaving the customs union. Why is that important? Because leaving the customs union gives us the prize of setting trade deals around the rest of the world.
At the same time, though, people didn't really like your manifesto very much, did they? That's when the poll figures
hang on
collapsed.
a second, though. Labour stood on exactly the same manifesto, and it's interesting that was confirmed again this week by them that they would be leaving the single market and leaving the customs union. So 86% of the public voted for manifestos that contained leaving the single market and leaving the customs union. Now, that's the initiation of the negotiation. And obviously, in all of this, we'll be doing bits and pieces of trade-offs. But the key thing is we have a clear agenda, and we should get on with it. And for those who say we didn't, well, they need to read both those manifestos. As interestingly was made clear, I don't know whether John McDonnell made it clear again this morning, because I didn't hear his interview, but we had the Chancellor on Mar making it very clear today that he stood by our manifesto position and the Lancaster House speech that was made by Theresa May. So we are united in that. Just need to get on with it.
Talking about Philip Hammond's appearance there earlier on, because he was sort of talking about the UK leaving the customs union, leaving the single market. Indeed. He was also hinting at quite a long transitional arrangement. Would you be happy with that?
Listen, I've always been a great believer that I'll support whatever they get out of the negotiation, because the public voted to leave, but we obviously want to remain at the end of the day friends with our allies in the European Union. You know, some of my family live in Italy. I studied out there. I have huge affection for European countries. Friends of theirs, we're allies of theirs. We want to stay involved with them on anti-terrorist activity, and we want to trade with them still. Now, it may be, as Pascal Lamy said a few months ago, we end up with a deal that says we have zero for zero trade, we have an agreement to have access to services, but we may take a little bit longer to thrash out all the details of the trade deal. But what we don't want to have is, as we leave, trade barriers. It's not in their interest, and it's not in ours.
The problem is, of course, going to this negotiation, you actually got a weaker hand than before the election because of the smaller majority. It already looks as though the UK government is weakening its position on the order that we talk about things. Does that worry you?
No, not really. I don't think so. I don't think it's any weaker or any stronger. The idea of the election was not to get strength in the European Union, but to make sure we could get all the bills and legislation through here at home. In the European Union, they have a simple point. We're leaving. They voted for it. And that's what we're going to be doing, discussing and negotiating that in the way that we said in the manifesto.
Iain Duncan Smith, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure, Sophie.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.